Hi, welcome everyone. Listen, the Chinese have started playing with numbers that no one would have believed just a few years ago. Here we have a 5-meter long family SUV that has almost 1,000 horsepower in total, and this SUV really exists and is called Denza N9. In terms of size, it's like the GLS X7. I've already talked about Denza right here, standing in front of the Autopunkt Mława office, the company that brings these cars to Poland from China. That was the N9. Note that 9 is a recurring theme. The top Omoda and top Tiggo are both 9s. It's their numerology, and honestly, I find it even easier that way. Let's look under the hood. At first, not much is visible, but I've already checked. You can remove this. This is a 2-liter turbo engine mounted transversely, and together with 3 electric motors, it produces 925 horsepower. Power is slightly higher in the back and lower in the front, but the difference isn't significant. I would look at this 3.9 to 102 ways. On one hand, it's definitely a fast car, but for 925 horsepower, I feel a bit underwhelmed. A few more words about the looks. It's a matter of taste. I think it's a well-proportioned car with nicely sized wheels. These are 22s. The front didn't turn out too well. I don't think the Z9 is particularly charming either. It's actually surprising that there's no real grille here, considering there's a combustion engine under the hood and it needs to be cooled somehow. Retractable door handles. But notice there's a physical button here, and that's it. Not only did the handle pop out, but you don't really know why, because the door opened by themselves anyway. So let's get in. But before we start looking at the interior, I'll tell you about the range, because here the declared range is 1,081 kilometers. They're really obsessed with range, have you noticed? In those cheaper cars, and in this one too, they claim the range is, I think, 1,300 kilometers. Maybe there are fewer gas stations there, or simply the distances to cover are just bigger. Here the battery is just under, well, almost 50 kilowatt hours. Let's say that if this car, optimistically speaking, uses 25 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, then maybe I'll be able to drive 200 kilometers. However, after that the range is only on gasoline, but that's not really important because you can quickly and easily add more gasoline at any time. I'm probably more impressed by... Wait, what am I doing? What am I doing? I should have used this button, or maybe this button. And who knows, maybe if I pronounced it correctly in Chinese, they would have closed by voice command, but let's just say I'll press it like this. And now it's closing, and I'm talking about something that should impress me even more. There's no tachometer here that goes up to 250 or 300, but this car's top speed is 230 kilometers per hour. And that's impressive, but what impresses me even more is the curb weight of this car, over 3,200 kilograms. And the maximum permissible weight is 3,760 kilograms. This means we need extra training to drive this car with a Category B license unless we have a Category C license. Luckily I have one, so it's not an issue for me. The second thing is the e-toll, which you have to pay for every vehicle with a maximum permissible weight over 3.5 tons. And it doesn't matter that there's Alcantara leather Napa here and that this isn't a delivery van at all. My dear friends, the partner of this episode is Vehist PL, a platform that helps finance cars for both private individuals and companies. You handle everything online, no need to visit dealerships or compare offers yourself. And here is their holiday promotion called Hay Under the Christmas Tree. You receive 100 zlotys back for every 10,000 zlotys net value of the car. For instance, a car worth 100,000 zlotys nets a 1,000 zlotys refund. How do you take advantage of this? You go to vehist.pl, get the code and make the initial payment by December 23rd. Finance your car with Vehist and get some cash for Christmas gifts. The link is in the description. Check it out. There's definitely a lot of electronics on board. Look at this. Here's our car, and in front of us there's some bigger ride. Yeah, that's the SU7 on the trailer. Next, on the right side of that ride, there's another car over there. He sees both of them. Oh, you see, here comes a man, you see he's coming. Here comes one, he's coming. Look, there's another one and we see him too. He's even carrying something in his hands. Oh no, really? When someone is close, he literally shows their movements. Here we have one camera. Under the mirror we have a second camera. Here we have another camera. Here we have a light. Here we have a light. Here we have a fourth camera, and of course a fifth camera. I've never liked this, and I never will. At least in Audi they tried to move it up so that your instinctive glance at the mirror would actually land more or less on the screen. Here you have to clearly look lower. This screen, you see, would actually be perpendicular to the driver's eyes at this angle. Yes, it's at a 45-degree angle, and we have several settings here. In the mirror, we see the camera image, and the driver's main screen has excellent quality. I'll just show you the seats, which can have ventilation, of course heating, and of course massages. We can save a setting for driving, for relaxation, zero gravity, meaning the option to recline. Look, this seat in the back moves inward and backward. We can make a bed out of the front seats, or we can leave the front seats alone and unfold the bed in the second and third rows. We can also push those in the third row. Here we have the PCT system, which is a system that allows this car to turn in place. The front axle stays in place, and the rear starts to rotate by turning the rear wheels in opposite directions. We won't do that now because I've already shown it here with the Z9, so if anyone is interested, feel free to check it out. There's also a short video. Here you can enable or disable the adjustment of the rear wheel angle when turning. By the way, this car has a turning radius of 4.65 meters, which is amazing. Here, there's a crab mode. The car can move sideways like a crab. When you activate this mode, it turns all four wheels in the same direction. Here we have snow, here we have sand, and here we have mud. There's also an individual mode that lets us adjust things here, as you can see, because we obviously have air suspension here. Generally, when it comes to the quality of the finish, it's very similar to the Z9. Now, this isn't really wood or a quality plastic, but it's still plastic. Look, it's soft, with even softer lower armrests. We don't need this, but it's still soft around the pockets. We don't need this, but it's also soft. And interestingly, in the Golf here in this spot, it's flocked, but in such a luxurious car, we have regular hard plastic. On the right side as well, wherever you reach with your hand or foot, look, almost all the way up to here, I have leather the whole time, and it's got foam underneath. Under the armrest, there's a fridge. Here we have two cup holders and a dual 50-watt charger. In front of the passenger, we have a nicely finished, not too big, but practical glove compartment. Of course, a screen for the passenger as well, and of course the company's sound system. Also, for someone 2 meters tall, there's still lots of room, 5 fingers above my cap. So I can easily position myself by the steering wheel and have plenty of knee room. This is the lowest seat setting, and I'm viewing about halfway up the windshield. The rear view mirror is just slightly in front of my eyes. Let's say I just barely pass its edge. The A-pillar is thick, but since it's far from the driver, it doesn't obstruct the view. Here, the only real advantage of a camera instead of a mirror is that it doesn't block the view out the window. On the right side, it's even better in this regard. In the back, well, you can see exactly where the car ends because the window is practically vertical. We can't see anything from the C-pillar to the D-pillar. Silence. 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 Screen at the... A big screen, so it moves, but it doesn't say anything. You can grab it somewhere here. It works. But it doesn't creak. And here? Here too, and here. Here too. If I tap here just to be annoying, nothing happens, right? Nothing. Oh. Here you heard it, but it's just a one-time arrangement of plastics. It's clearly plastic. Handles. I didn't mention that we have a retractable and extendable threshold here, which moves completely smoothly and without any noises. Unfortunately, the car isn't plugged in, but at least this intro we see on the screen shows that it could be really nice. Here we have, look, a very familiar solution. I saw this in the GAC Hipsec HT. Here we have a USB-C port. Here we have some kind of charging slot, and of course a screen in the middle. When it comes to air vents, we have air vents here and air vents there. Cup holder, we also have the option to move the seat. It can either be a fridge down to -6, which is pretty serious, or it can also be heating, and here the heating can go up to 40 or even 50 degrees. That's crazy. Let me into the third row. Listen, I don't want to waste too much time, so I just walked through here between the seats. The backrest is electric, and I can also move something here forward and backward electrically, and I still have heating, a spot for a cup, 2 USB ports, air vent, speaker, and also electric door opening. But I have my own sunshade, 2 spots for phones. I just don't have enough hands to show it all. As for the legroom, well, you saw it yourselves. It all depends on the settings and the configuration of the whole interior. There's a flat floor, as you can see, and there's plenty of space under the seats. Here we have a Type 2, and here we have a typical Chinese connector for which you need an adapter. Here E3 speaks for itself, 3 electric motors. So let's check the trunk. In this configuration, obviously, the trunk has about 200 something liters. We can fold it down with one move. It's a very slow process, but you can also fold it with just one touch. Oh, it worked! And now it's going a bit faster. These super comfortable seats are so thick that, as you can see, they couldn't be folded flat. So here we have a piece of floor, a bump, and we're going a bit uphill. You can also lower or raise this car. I have to admit that can come in handy because it's high. Look how high it is. We're going down. It lowered a bit. Now we're going back up. It took a while. I'll probably have to speed up this part about 10 times. 12 volts, a light on the left, a light on the right, no hooks or nets. Here's another interesting fact. One of the options in this car is a DJI drone, which is mounted on the roof of the car. There's a special housing for it, and then the roof looks a bit different. I won't do an acceleration test to 100 because the battery is only at 14%. You need at least 30% here to enable sport mode. I think that if I did the acceleration to 100 now, I'd get at best maybe 5, maybe even 6 seconds. Not a result below 4 for sure. There it is. It's quiet, it's very quiet. When we step on the gas, it picks up. You can hear that 2-liter engine. I have to admit, paying for the toll here actually makes sense because you really drive like you're in a truck or a delivery van. You sit very high up and you can feel the weight of the vehicle, which glides majestically down the road. Here, the combination of the air suspension gives you that pleasant, luxurious rocking effect. All these lidars and cameras around pick up quite a lot, although I wouldn't say that the lines drawn here in real time on the screen matched reality. It's a bit chaotic on my screen, I have to say. Instinctively, of course, I glance toward the mirrors, which aren't there, and I have to get used to looking at the screens instead of the mirrors, but the interior mirror, even though it's also a screen, is much simpler. We're on a wide, empty road driving at 50 kilometers per hour, so we can do whatever we want, left or right. I have to say, for something weighing over 3 tons, it really wanted to jump left. It leaned over a lot. I would lean even more to the other side, but honestly, not even a tire squealed. No electronics had to assist me. It really did the job, quite honestly, and that's difficult for a car that's so high off the ground and so heavy, but it completed the task. I'll also brake on the empty road behind me. Somewhere near the end, the ABS tried to correct it in the last meter, but I have to admit it did it in a very decisive way. You can see that the software detected my intentions here and applied so much pressure in the braking system that I really didn't have to push very hard. And I got exactly the result I had in mind. If I were to compare this car to other cars known in Europe, I think it's mostly like the GLS, although I feel like the X7 handles a bit more confidently. Cayenne is definitely in a completely different league. Now, the price of a car with GLS level space and Porsche Cayenne-like acceleration when charged. So it's no coincidence that I mentioned 2 very expensive cars here, because after importing this car and paying all the taxes, it costs 379,000 zlotys. It's cheaper in China, so it's no surprise that sales of this car type are booming there. We'll see if it's the same in Poland. To a large extent, it probably also depends on the Build Your Dreams Corporation itself, because when they bring Denza to Poland, it won't be such an exotic car anymore. I think we'll soon see many of these cars on the roads. But even now, from what the guys at Autopunk said, they don't have any trouble finding customers. I think the premium segment will have to go through a reshuffle. Because it'll be hard to sell, I don't know, a 380 horsepower diesel and ask a lot of money for it, if right next to it there's a much cheaper Chinese car with almost 1,000 horsepower. Thank you very much for watching this episode. Remember to subscribe and see you in the next videos. Bye. And of course, finally, thanks to the company Autopunkt in Muava, which provided me with this car for testing.